you looking for valuable business advice to reach that 7-figure revenue mark? Do you want actionable tips to properly navigate through every business challenge you encounter along the way? Let Tersh Blissett and Josh Crouch be your guide in getting you to the top here at Service Business Mastery. Tune in as they sit down with world-renowned authors in business, leadership, and personal growth who share valuable insights about management, marketing, pricing, human resources, and so much more. Let their nuggets of wisdom gold guide you in owning a thriving, profitable, and ever-growing business. Here are your hosts, Tersh and Josh.
What's up, everybody out in the podcast world? Hope you're having a wonderful day. You're listening to or watching the Service Business Mastery podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tersh Blissett, and then I'm sitting alongside next to my virtual co-host, Joshua Crouch.
And don't forget, better looking host.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I mean, I can't argue it. My mom did tell me that I had a face for radio, so there's that.
That's why we're in podcasting.
Yeah, and then it was like, you know what? You're not that ugly. Let's go live sometimes. You're like, hopefully it's like a bad bandwidth, and so like it'll be super granulated, so it's like people can't really see it. Okay, let's go. Yeah. But yeah, did you know, fun fact, before we went live, before we started recording here, we were talking with our guest Aurora Winter, and we were talking about everything except for what we're going to talk about today, which is we're
really good at that.
Yeah, we do that sometimes. But did you know that a John boat with a 25-horse Evinrude is not a yacht?
Yeah, Tersh had his mind totally blown before we got on here.
Multiple times. Yeah, so Aurora, she's a serial entrepreneur, which I can totally relate to because I love hating my life too. So I like to start businesses and stuff. So yeah, she had a yacht company and did some that, and then radio. Had like whenever I was reading beforehand, reading up on her, I was like, oh, cool. She produced a TV show. I have a friend of mine who's a TV show. She's a local news producer, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I could ask questions about that. And then we get on here and she's like, oh, yeah, I actually owned one. And I was like, we generated like, what was it? $5 million to make some movies. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I got you. I'm totally got you. Understand. But yeah, we're going to talk today about what the top 4% do this to what was it?
Communicate. You're killing me. Communicate powerfully.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about communicating, and it's probably not to read only half the title before you start the podcast.
Tersh, look at the bottom of the screen. Now you can read it.
Aha. There we go. So we're going to talk about turning your words into wealth. That's her book, and we have some cool stuff. If you hang out to the end, we'll get you a copy of the book. And if you're really, really, really nice, and you're just give us a 5-star review on whatever you're listening to this on, then we might send you a way to get a link to a possible way to get a copy of the book. Or I might just send you a copy of the book myself. I don't mind doing that. But anyways, and then there's another book too, Marketing Fast Track. You know what? Let's just let Aurora come on the show and she can talk a little bit about
That's a great idea.
Like me, I'm probably screwing all this stuff up. But anyways, welcome to the show.
Oh my God, you guys are so funny. I love it. Okay, we are going to talk about what the 4% do differently to communicate powerfully.
Aurora, keep us on track, especially the one in orange. Keep him on track. Otherwise, we're going to go off on so many side angles.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, you guys are so funny. So what the 4% do differently is they frame every conversation from a place of power, because you know how you frame the conversation affects the result. So for example, this conversation is framed as a podcast. So Tersh and Josh are the podcast hosts. And so already they were coming from a position of authority. So having that authority positioning, which is one easy way to do that, is to be the author of a book or to have a great podcast, something that frames the conversation so that you arrive with a higher status. So we were talking before the show started about how anyone in the service industry can have a little book. Then they're an author, which makes them an authority. And all of a sudden, they are not competing head to head with other people who do similar things. They are the authority. They're the go-to expert. So one of the things the 4% do differently to communicate powerfully is they frame the conversation and they show up almost in a position of power before they open their mouth, because they are authors or they are podcast hosts or they show up with that expertise.
Sweet.
I love that.
I love that. And there's so many rabbit holes I could jump in with that.
Okay.
Well, that was a
before
great
we do that-
episode, so let's close it up.
I'm trying to keep you
That
guys
was
on
everything you
track,
need to
so-
know.
Mic drop. I got one over here. Let's just drop
We should
it.
have had her lead off. That was way better than what we were doing.
True. That's a true story. But before we go any deeper with my questions, tell us about yourself. Tell us about what you have going on and everything that for you, not everything in your background, because you're a serial entrepreneur. So you're like me, and it's like we could be here for days.
We could be here for days. Exactly. I am a serial entrepreneur, as you just mentioned. I'm the author of the book Turn Words into Wealth: Blueprint for Your Business, Brand, and Book to Create Multiple Streams of Income and Impact. And I've also written another book called Marketing Fast Track, the little book that launched a new business, $250,000 in 90 days. So those are some resources for you, which apparently you'll get links to. And what I love
If they stay to the end.
if they stay to the end.
Don't fast forward this, because you're gonna have to listen to me the whole time.
And while I've had multiple other businesses, what I do now is I have the spoken author method, which is a way to help people write books really quickly and easily. And I'm the founder of a company called Same Page Publishing. So what we do is we help people avoid that whole blank page panic, which on average, first-time authors take 3.5 years to write a book, which oftentimes never even gets published. And what I do is I just train people how to have a conversation about what they do, how to answer, what are the most frequently asked questions. We have a conversation, we record it, and I then take that away, bing, boom, my team and I have the transcript, polish it up, and you get a nice little book. And if it's a little book like Marketing Fast Track, this little book was based on a 1-hour interview. And I used it as a lead magnet, and it generated $250,000 of new business in 90 days, which was pretty cool because at that time I had just finished my MBA in 2015. So I was at a dead stop. I'm like, what am I going to do? And the book was like a little test to see, would people like my help with their marketing, their messaging, and publishing their book? So I share that because a little book can be done by anybody in the construction or service industry, and it can help you really jumpstart something new.
Okay, so let me ask you a question with Marketing Fast Track. The book itself, you said it was an hour-long interview, basically. And correct me if I'm wrong, about an hour. So about 30 minutes is what, about 2,000 words or something like that? Or so maybe.
Well, this is the
4,000?
other cool thing.
Okay.
When people are talking about their area of expertise, they can talk at about 8,000 words in an hour.
Okay, 8,000. Okay, yeah.
So I think it was a 90-minute interview. So it was about 15,000 words, something like that. And then I did add a few things that I had. So for example, the book shows people the email sequence that I sent out, and it explains what happened after the book. I added that later. After this book was published, I used it as a lead magnet, and I added a little bit to explain, I had a small email list of 12,000 at the time. I offered the book for free, but people.
Let's not skip over that.
So
right
I
now.
added those.
Like, had your small list of 12,000. It's not just play over that one. Like my list has like 200. I'm like, woo, we got 201. But so with that, so 8,000 words in an hour, whenever you're talking about yourself, how many pages does that typically, like whenever you're doing something like this, how many pages is that? I know it's obviously different if it's larger or smaller
Depends
font.
how large the font is. Exactly.
That's what I was.
We're gonna make it large
Well,
font
size 18.
because my target avatar is between 65 and 85, and so we're gonna make our font larger. That's what I'm telling myself, anyways. And so we only want to make it 150 pages. So, but yeah.
Right.
What would you expect, like as if you're a contractor and you're like, man, I have a lot of great information, and I was talking to somebody yesterday, a now good friend of mine, Roger Wakefield, and he's like, man, I have a ton of great ideas, but I don't really like put pen to paper.
Yeah.
And but he can talk for hours. But if I'm just thinking to myself, okay, oh yeah, I know all about providing a wow service for clients and what that experience package looks like and should look like. And I could talk about that for an hour or 2 hours. How long do you need it to be for it to make sense to even publish a book?
Well, this is another thing. Like longer is not necessarily better.
That's what I was thinking too.
What you want is you want it to be answering those frequently asked questions and to create expertise, plus also share some humanity so people know, like, and trust you. So for example, this little book, it's about 15,000 words. It's about 100 pages, and it was based on a 90-minute interview, something like that. And then I did add a few things to explain what happened after. So most people, I think, in 90 minutes or 2 90-minute interviews could do a short book. This book, though, it's an average book like this, Turn Words into Wealth, is about 50,000 words. And when I do books like this for my clients, then what we typically do is about 12 one-hour interviews. But this is after I've helped them understand what kind of stories to tell. And so that would create a longer book. Does that answer your question?
Actually, it does 100%. Like that's literally exactly what I was asking, because for me, it's like, I guess the next question to that is, which one do you feel like you find more successful in a service industry? Because before you answer that, my brain went a different direction. How can we use this? Like, we don't think of our business as a glamorous business. Typically, as a contractor, I am far from the norm, the way that I dress, and I understand that and I accept it, and I'm perfectly fine.
There's literally only one of you.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody else wear a suit and tie.
Right. And I'll wear this on a job site, and it's a conversation thing for me. Yeah. It's obvious that we do business different. Jesse Cole, Savannah Bananas, that's my whole thing. Business, making it stand out. That's what we do.
You're in that 4%. You see, you're in that 4%. You're framing the conversation differently. You're showing up as an expert. You're showing up with a clear brand. You're showing up in a way that grabs attention. So already you framed the conversation differently. Imagine if you handed them a book as well with a nice orange, snappy cover 100%. And left it behind.
By the way, like the $20 for seeing all that nice stuff, it's on the website, but I'll PayPal it to you. But no, I'm just kidding. If you're listening to this though, and you're not me, like you are uncomfortable wearing a suit and tie into a homeowner's house and into an attic or anything like that, how would you explain to them that having a book is a really good thing? It's something that will make you stand out from the crowd. And I don't know the best question for this, and that's not something you'll probably ever hear me say again, because I ask questions all the time. It's like, if I'm thinking about this, if I'm on the fence to doing this, and I just need an idea of I have a ton of knowledge in my brain, but I don't know what the consumer actually wants to even know about. How do I know that I'll provide value? I know that you, and I wrote down as fast as I could in my chicken scratch, longer is not better. Share your expertise and save some, or share some humanity. I literally wrote down
Humanity plus
here.
expertise. Well, here to answer your question, what are the frequently asked questions? What costs you the sale? These are the things to consider. So what are the myths that most people believe that may be costing you the sale? And also, who is sabotaging your sale who might not be at that initial meeting? So sometimes your initial meeting would be with, if it's a husband and wife who are making a decision, you might only be meeting with the wife, or you might only be meeting with the husband. A book provides an opportunity for you to express in the clearest possible way the answers to those questions, and then the person will hand it on. Because usually if you tell them, even though you've said it to them and they get it, by the time they repeat it to their spouse, it's like only
telephone.
10% there. Like
It's definitely not the same
telephone.
message.
It's not the same message. So your book allows you to make sure that the message sent is the message received. And it's also like having a salesperson, except you don't have to pay them. Right? Because it's a silent soldier that sits on a desk or on a coffee table or on a bookshelf. And so people can, go and reread it again, or they can pass it on. It's a great referral mechanism. I helped some dentists grow their business from 1.5 to 6 million. And part of it was the book positioned them as the go-to experts for people over 40. So they stood out in the crowd, and they weren't just like every other dentist.
Yeah.
But also they got a lot of business from referrals, because people said, oh, if somebody says, oh, I really like my dentist. Oh, what's the person's name? But, I really like my dentist, and here's their book.
That is so true in our industry. Like, I just had that conversation with somebody this morning, because I asked him, I said, how many customers do you have? He didn't know. And then the next follow-up question is, what do you do to market to them? Oh, well, nothing yet. And they've been in business like 7 or 8 years.
Wait a minute, Josh. We're supposed to know how many customers we have?
Ballpark.
And Amazon. Like,
I mean, she knows her list is 12,000.
You can also it can also work as a referral mechanism. Oh, my dentist or my contractor has got a book, and you can find it on Amazon. So even if your friend that you're talking to is in a completely different state, and you don't want to ship them the book that's sitting on your bookshelf, why not leverage Amazon as the number 3 search engine and set yourself apart?
So with that being said, do we give each person like more than one book? Because for me, I'm like, I'll loan you my book, but I like my book. My bookshelf is really organized over here. I have it by colors. And so like when I take a book out, like I pulled this book out, and now the whole thing's leaning. And so OCD kicks in. So I'm just kidding about that. But in reality, how long the dentist office that went from 1.5, 1.6 to what was it? To
6 million.
6 million. Yeah. Okay. That's where I got the 6 from. How long of a time period did that take? Like whenever I do this, when I put forth the effort and energy to write a book, create a book, pay to have, because I know that everybody's going to want one. So I'm probably just going to have them buy like 10,000 copies of it and then have them sitting in my closet for a year or 2 or 10.
Well, that's the really cool thing with Amazon. They have print on demand. So you don't have to stock the book. In fact, I sent you guys a copy of Turn Words into Wealth before the show.
You did. And I was reading a lot of it.
Yeah. And I just went on Amazon and I typed in your address, and it went directly from Amazon printing it directly to you. It didn't come here.
That is cool. I was wondering how that happened. I was like, this is fancy here.
This is another reason Amazon is going to own the world, because they figured out all these little intricacies, that
the nuances, and that's the whole premise of the book. Like, let's figure this stuff out and share how we're better than them,
and leverage the technology that we have today to take advantage of that. Yeah. So, in answer to your question, the dentist, I think, gave away a lot of copies of books. You have to figure out what is the lifetime value of a customer? And
Right.
with contractors, I mean, you can be doing some very large jobs, but what is the
Yeah.
value of a customer and how much does other advertising cost? So a book might sell for, say, $15 or $20, but the cost to print it and ship it directly from Amazon is maybe $5. So would it be worth $5 to close a sale? Usually, yeah.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
selling something a lot more than $5.
Considering how expensive a lead is these days, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
So it's way better to have a book on Amazon than advertise on Google or Facebook. I mean, if you
Yeah.
crunch the numbers.
So how long does it take to have it put up on Amazon? Like if for somebody who's never done
it's-
Amazon or anything like that.
Well, I help my clients and do it for them so they don't have to fuss with that. But basically, as soon as you've got the book ready, you can upload it and press a button and it's instant. And not only that,
like
it's
that.
instant around the world. It's not
Oh,
just
yeah.
in your neighborhood. So that's very
You don't have to
cool.
worry about all these shipping fiascos that we're
You don't
dealing
have to worry
with.
about shipping. You don't have to print 10,000 copies. You don't have to have them in your garage. You don't have to worry about customs because they have them in different places. So if people are thinking about marketing, why not do something different? Everybody's on Instagram and Facebook, and why not have a book? And then you want to combine, I think you really need to combine physical product with
Mhm.
digital product. So if all of the advertising is online, it's all digital. As soon as they turn off their computer, they're like, where did I put that? Or I've lost it. What was that guy's name? But if they have a book, it's like, oh yeah, there it is. There's the
They won't throw that away. It'll stay somewhere, even if it is on Tertia's bookshelf. It'll stay somewhere until he needs it.
What happens? Like, how do you make a book interesting to people who aren't interested in what you do?
You don't make a book interesting to everyone. You
Okay.
only make it interesting to your ideal client. So what are the questions that people are asking you typically before they're going into general contracting? Give me a question. Whatever the question is, let's say, what are the top 3 questions that people ask that are important? What are the
Hang on.
top 3?
You went from one question to, and we didn't give you an answer. We just gave you like a blank look, a dumbfounded look, and then you went, let's go to 3. And we're like, and then my brain's like, oh crap.
One at a
I
time.
still haven't come up with the first question.
I'm just kidding. No, I get that part of it, but I guess like whenever I envision something like this, and I know that the reason I'm asking you these questions this way is because I know that our listeners are thinking the same thing. They're driving down the road thinking, yeah, but what if? And I played the what if scenario a lot in my brain. So this is very easy for me. What if I think that I want to create a book that is almost like we were talking earlier about Tim Ferriss's book, Tools of Titan. This is a book that kind of sits on a coffee table, sits on the back of the toilet. Well, not really anymore since cell phones are out, but it's one of those things that we won't go down that rabbit hole right now. But it's one of those things that is like kind of always around, and it's a real thick book. And this one particular one is, but not saying that I would want to write a book that's thick or anything. But like if I want a book that's attractive, that is more than just, oh, we have a problem, let me find that book from that guy that came here 2 years ago and we unsubscribed from his email list because we were tired of looking at you. You know what I mean? And so it's like, I know that book, but I can't remember the name. Like, how do we make it so that people want to read it, or they want to keep it around and not just chunk it in the trash can after the fact? Because like when you go to an event, like we went to we went to 2 different events last week, 2 weeks ago. It feels like yesterday in Vegas. But you get all these little knickknacks and stuff. And I get back to the house, and my wife, Julie, she's like, oh, that's cool. Let's keep that. Let's rake all this stuff off the counter right into the trash can. Like, yeah. I'm done with all this stuff now. How do we avoid our book from being the thing that ends up in the trash can, and that's something that people actually want to read?
Well, that's kind of the multi-million-dollar question, because most people who write books, they are not so good because they're not writers. That's why I think people who are experts in their field should work with somebody who's a professional writer, who understands storytelling, so that the book will be a page turner. Like, I specialize in award-winning best-selling books. just like there's a structure to building a house that doesn't fall down, and just like you need to use your expertise to remember, oh yeah, there should be plumbing in here, and what about the electrical?
Yeah, I
Which
forgot about
is-
the toilets.
Oh shit,
Yeah.
part of the
Literally.
fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not something that an everyday layperson would think all through. What is
Good point.
where do we need the engineering? Where are the bearing walls? You guys probably know this, like you do it in your sleep. And it's the same with working with a writer, which is why I suggest if people are not writers that they work with us or they work with somebody
Mhm.
else who's professional to help make sure that the book is good and is a page turner
Mhm.
and will stand, that it's got a hidden structure
Mhm.
that holds it up and makes it firm. So describing the structure of a book that is a page turner and that people want to keep is beyond what I could deliver in a few minutes.
No, I
But,
get it. I get it. I understand.
I have had my book sit on shelf for years.
But at least
and
you know what to do. So if we
result
reach
in-
out, if they
yeah.
reach out to you, then she knows the answer.
So what if people, people listening to this, they've heard frequently asked questions, but they're listening to this and they're like, man, I can't think of anything that would be interesting enough to turn even to like a 50-page book. Is there some place that they can, is that something that they would need to have a conversation with somebody? Or, I mean, because there's plenty, I've thought of a couple ideas already, just interesting things that I think a homeowner would want to know, especially myths and some
Yeah.
different tips and trick type of thing, like how to maintain your system, how to do some of these things. So, because there are a lot of people that want to learn that, because people want to take care of their stuff, especially if they're a homeowner, but they may not know where to start. So then they go to YouTube, and then you never know what you're going to get on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
But is there a
that's kind
place
of a longer
that they should?
answer too. I think they should they could benefit by reading my book Marketing Fast Track, which gives you an example of that, and it's free wherever books are sold. Marketing Fast Track, and if they go to State of the End, they might get the link. But
That was a great job marketing your book, by the way.
you also need to decide what is the purpose of the book. So there's there's books that you write for legacy. There's books that you write because you really want to leave this for your children and your grandchildren. There's books that you write because you want to become Tim Ferriss and you want to sell millions of copies.
I'm trying to get rich.
Right. But there's also books that you write in order to be lead magnets and to bring you business.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
those are kind of separate. And I help people with both kinds of books or all kinds of books. But a lead magnet book like Marketing Fast Track, you need to teach people how to make the decision that you want them to make. So if you want them to hire you, you don't go hire me, but you go, hey, here are 10 things that people need to know about hiring a contractor. And then, 5 of them would be, common sense things, but the other 5 would be all where you excel. So,
Okay, so I love what you're
teach
saying.
them how to do something.
What I'm hearing, and I'm so sorry for interrupting you, because
It's your show. Go ahead.
no, it's my brain would be like,
He'll
what
forget
was it? What was it that you were thinking? My brain will talk to itself. And anyways, before I forget, let me stop that conversation. What I'm hearing from what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong here, become the expert that they know and recognize you by name, or at least by face, preferably by name, so that they can Google you, because they can't Google a face. But and then this is a tool, right? Yeah, this is a tool that you use to become that expert. You become the guy that stands out because he wears a 3-piece suit into an attic. And this is just another tool in the arsenal to help create that scenario. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what you're hearing. So you're beautifully bringing this around to what the 4% do differently to communicate powerfully. So one of the things that they do, which you perfectly pointed out there beautifully, is they set themselves apart. And a book is a great way to set yourself apart and to increase your status so that you are an authority, because the root of the word authority is author. So you've gone ahead.
Oh my gosh!
I know you've made
Mind-blown.
yourself the authority. So it helps frame every conversation after that as, oh, this is the authority on this topic because this person actually literally wrote the book about it.
Oh, this is so awesome.
I love that.
Yeah, you're making me just my brain's hurting, but in a good way, I guess. So, Josh, you go ahead. I'm trying to get this link for people.
Yeah. So for me, is it something, so you'd recommend them doing some research before reaching out to you? I'm just trying to get like, so anyone listening, if they want to reach out to you, what they should do and have prepared beforehand. Is there, can they come to you guys like as like a consultation type of thing and be like, hey, I got maybe some ideas. I'm not sure if any of these would be worth anything, and then you guys can kind of help figure that out? Or is
exactly. So people can book a call with us. If they go to aurorawinter.com, they can book a free business breakthrough session, and we'll talk to them. So they don't need to have figured out their book. What I would like to know is, what is their business? What is their business? What do they sell? And then we can help them design. We reverse engineer it. So what is it that you sell, and what are the things that cost you the sale? And how much is your average client, that kind of a thing. And then we help them figure out what the book needs to say. So they don't have to come with the idea of the book. They come with who they are is already plenty. I mean, everybody who's gone out to dinner or schmoozed at a party, people say, what do you do? And then you're like, oh, and then what do they say next? What are those questions? You don't need to work hard to find out what your expertise is. You know what it is in your sleep. So we can help them design a book that will help showcase what's unique and special about them.
Yeah, it's super interesting to me. And if you guys go to aurorawinter.com, she has links to all 3 books that you can purchase. I think you can get them on Amazon. I think that's where the link takes you. Or Kindle, it looks like. But so if you guys go there,
it would be really cool if Amazon could like create an app where you could like read on like your iPad and stuff, and it'd be really like maybe a witty name.
Wouldn't that be
Kindle
cool?
Or something. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Well, the other cool
there's a
thing
$1 billion idea.
The other cool thing about having a book on Amazon, which is the number 3 search engine, is people who are advertised to on Facebook or on Google or on YouTube, they're not actually planning on buying right at that moment. They're researching. But people on Amazon have their credit card out, and usually it's one click to buy. And it's a small decision to buy somebody's book for $15 or $20. And then they have the book as your silent salesperson that they've actually paid for. People throw away business cards. They throw away brochures. They forget the meat of the conversation and can't repeat it to their spouse, and that costs you the sale. So it's the most powerful tool you can have in your marketing toolkit. If you want more business, why not get a book to work hard for you? I mean, this little book, Marketing Fast Track, I started something brand new and it brought me $250,000 of new business in 90 days. That's not from selling the book. That's from selling things that I sell, just to be clear.
That's probably good to clarify that.
Yeah.
And then this book, Turn Words into Wealth, it hurt my heart so much that people would write a book, but then they had no idea how to monetize it. So this book gives you 7 different models for monetizing your message, so that people can.
I'm guessing one of those is podcasting.
Actually, no.
Because it's not. Darn. Well, that should be the 8th one then.
Okay.
Yeah. It seems that everywhere you turn, even on TV, radio, everyone's got a podcast today.
But are you monetizing your podcast?
It's a hip.
Not very well.
We'll have to talk about.
No, we do this more
for
for fun. Yeah, we should probably take that off air.
Yeah, no, it's definitely our way of giving back to the industry that has given us so much. I think podcasts are great. I think podcasts and books go beautifully hand in hand, or books and videos, because one is immediate, one is conversational, one is right there. But then it's good to have a physical product so people can hold it, or if you're having a meeting, you can hand them to it, you can autograph it. And it sits on the shelf, whereas a podcast is more like a magazine. You want, what has he told me lately? Yeah, exactly. And it is that way, because I'll go back and listen to episode 1 or 2, and I'm like, oof, the way I think is different now. And that was like 600 episodes ago. And it's like, it's crazy.
Congratulations, 600 episodes. That's huge. Well done.
Yeah, we've been doing this since 2017. It's been on here for a little while, but yeah. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all this and putting up with my dad humor.
I love your sense of humor. Well, it's been a pleasure, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to have the listeners turn their words into wealth.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, you've said that once or twice. I could tell.
That was a good way to end it.
Yeah, aurorawinter.com. Go check it out. That's where you're linked to go and get more information. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us, and we will get you connected. I'll answer any questions that I have. Obviously, I'm not the expert here because I was asking a gazillion questions, but I will definitely get you connected with Aurora. And I look forward to continuing this conversation in general with you, Aurora, and for any of the listeners of this, because I'm super excited to hear. And maybe I could give you this challenge to you. And we didn't discuss this earlier. I'm literally, it's part of my ADD. Send me, I'll tell you what. Boom, I got this. Send the first 5 people to send me just their random idea, thought process, like, oh, this would be a cool idea. As long as it's legit, like, don't give me something goofy. I'll purchase a copy of this book and mail it to you. What I'll do is maybe have Aurora autograph it and then mail it to you, or I'll autograph it. There you go. It would be useless if I did it. Anyways, but yeah. Anyways, thank you again for watching this episode and hanging out with us to the very end. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. And we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com to learn more.